Well, welcome to the Dream Labs. I am Dr. Contrast and we are live. It's going to be a very interesting day here, folks. And before I begin, I want to take a moment to thank both Antares and Dakota for joining forces here today. And believe you can be a vital part of this program today. And I'm really thrilled to have this opportunity to see what we can do with this whole process. And the title, of course, speaks for itself. We made a comment about a week or two ago about the fact that this empathy system is kind of a unique way of creating new ideas and fresh systems and the like. It keeps the whole portfolio alive and opens up your expansion of visual vocabulary. So I want to take a moment here to explain, for example, I really regret not being able to fly yesterday. I don't know if I told you or not, I'm the advisory board. No problem. On the move. Take your time, Terrace. It's good to have you on board. But I really regretted not being able to fly yesterday. I told you or not, I'm the president of the advisory board for a series of STEM schools. We're in about 5-state region. We had a very large conglomerate gathering. Had to make presentations on new academic programs and design and engineering thinkings for these schools we're dealing with, and really a productive day. But at the same time, I really missed the fact that we didn't get a chance to run with this thing and get it started. So thank you for your patience with that. We're going to spend today with a very interesting set of circumstances. As we stated last week, we went through a project review of what was taking place in terms of the Dream Labs and operations and the like. And we have some really interesting things that have coming in, and I think a total of 5 or 6, and maybe a couple more coming in the next few weeks, about very definitely some very applicable pieces for us to review and take advantage of. One of the most important ones is about 5 or 6 weeks ago, we started an empathic study on aircraft battle techniques. And it was a good approach, but I think the fact that, and I'll be my own worst critic here, one of the things I did not do was explain thoroughly how empathy operates, what to look for, what to cancel out, and what to begin to add to it as an emotional study. So let me begin today by letting you know that we've got the green light on this project for this new product design. I was really shocked to find out that the bottom line for us on the YouTube system is a comment from the director of design, a former student of mine at this corporation, said, "Jim, Dr. Contrast, it's wide open. You've got nothing but license of freedom to do some really blue sky stuff. Think in terms of 5 to 10 years out. We're looking at the areas of technology that we don't know yet that we're going to explore. We're going to take advantage of taking your design input and begin to put application to it at all." And I thought that was really refreshing. I mean, it's going to be great for us, and especially for you, Dakota, and also Antares, as I want to be coming out of the blocks with a very definitive statement here. You're going to be a vital part of this design process. And I'll start today by stating that when we go through these systems week after week after week, I really believe that if you stay with me and join forces, we can share some ideas back and forth and make this thing a real bell ringer for those individuals to begin to analyze and look at. So there's really no holes, no confines at all. It's wide open. Scale might be determined, obviously. Materials, all the things we talked about, for example, adaptability, being articulated and so forth. There were things that they spelled out that had to be looked at, but there was no real package in terms of here's the power source, here's the way it's going to look, no dictation there at all. This is strictly a pure conceptual advanced design study. And I think it's going to be great for you guys to be involved in this thing. So let me hold on there for a moment and see if we can get an approval from you. Is that going to be okay for you guys to be a part of the process? And if you have friends that want to join in, great. This is going to be a really great shared experience in terms of developing some really great conceptual stuff here. And I, for one, have lived my whole life being on the ragged edge of being an advanced concept guy. So not a problem for me at all, and I'm sure not for you either. So hold on a moment here. Any conversation or response at all? Very cool. Everything is in it. It'll be all part of the process. I'm sure it'll be a hand tool of some sort, I'm hoping to be like a hand drill. There's some things in the hand drill system that I think are really complex in terms of needing improvement. I'm not an expert at it, but I think it can be kind of a nice thing to do. It's ergonomic, it's materials, it's power source, all the things they're looking for. So my comment today is to go through a very simple but yet thorough explanation. And I'm going to start this whole program. Phase 1 today. We're going to develop very quickly and very succinctly one thing and one thing only. We're going to introduce how empathy operates, what to look for, what it constitutes, and how to begin to utilize it in times to come. So phase one today is I'm going to go through a series of empathy studies here on the pages, and I'm going to line them up in pages like 1 through 4, what I'm doing a series of them, and we'll start to look at, for example, let that aside and let them aside. Have you all look at them and begin to evaluate them and say, hey, this is good, this is not, this is good, that could be possible. And then next week we'll come back in phase 2, we'll start to translate it. And I think that's the thing that's going to be interesting to me. As I said earlier, really did an awful job on that aircraft study where, yeah, we laid down the empathic strikes, but we didn't take the time to move into what to look for. Thicks and thins, weight changes, character, additions, deletions. All that's part of the process to make this thing really full-heartedly and strong conceptually. So I think it's neat to be able to do all that, and I'm just really quite thrilled at the fact that we'll be involved in this process. So I don't want to belabor or belittle what that we talked about. Just a very simple, quick introduction, but thorough introduction about how empathy works. And I'll be using Conte crayon, which is an HB series, HB black Conte crayon, which is really the right mix to work with because it's a hard edge on it, it's very crisp, and it gives you some real tone changes in terms of line weights. So before I go on here any further, as I stated, phase 1 today, let's introduce it. Let's see how it operates. Phase 2 next week, if we're possible. We'll go into the translation, then the application. And when we get the application stage, that's when the design concept sketches will start to take on full force and develop a lot of ideas and to generate back and forth. And one last thing before I begin, too. I do want to make a note of this. In between, for example, a series of studies being done, we'll send them out. We might get some feedback from the individuals we're working with. So it might be a lull in the bombing from week to week to week. But if there are gaps in those areas, I'll begin to fill in with maybe like little thumbnail sketches on just sketch ideas or methods and marker studies. So we'll make that time function for us. So the nice thing about this is once this whole thing is through, we can develop this guy and get it all wrapped up. The next one coming in will be for you, Terrace, an architectural study. I'm trying to work with a firm here in town to develop some architectural theme work for advanced technology and architecture. So I'll keep you posted on that. So product first, then into some architecture using the same method. And then the third one, we'll get into some landscape design with some park developments coming in. That information is yet to come, but we'll find out what those ground rules are going to be and begin to put all that into the system for YouTube presentations. So there's a lot of neat stuff happening here at the labs. And another thing to add too, we're getting a lot of commission work coming in from Corvette, a lot of Ferrari work coming along, so we'll be busy. It'll be a lot of fun. So let's go this. Let me stop here for a moment. Hope I'm not going too quickly. Am I explaining the process okay, what the methods are going to be for today? I'll just hold on for a moment and wait for your feedback here before we start working with this stuff. I'm going to get that Conte crayon out here. There's what we're going to work, that Conte crayon, HB series, just really great to work with. Hey, Antares, if you're on the move, are you traveling or what? Not to worry about slow spawning. I just want to make sure you're okay. Very cool. Back at it again, Dakota. That's good to know. Let's see, Dakota. Yes, sir. Okay, Antares. Awesome. Really look forward to it. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think really the most important part for me, as I say this with every ounce of sincerity, to have you involved in it. Because your experience, your approach to certain things are going to be very, very different from mine, and in most cases good and very applicable. So I'm going to need that help to kind of go through the process. I don't want to let this be a me, myself, and I process. I think it's really neat to share this stuff, and we've got that in license. And hopefully, as we go through that, I would only encourage you, and I'll make this announcement from week to week to week, that we hopefully will keep it all private, just between ourselves. I wouldn't really publicize what we're doing here in terms of just say it's an interesting project, but to protect our integrity and to make sure that nothing gets leaked in terms of being exposed to what we're doing with here, not being clandestine, just being very truthful. We need to keep that nice and clean. So walking into are you really? That's pretty cool. All right, let's get this thing started here. I'm going to move into some, I'll try to kind of pare this down today and maybe do 3 or 4 empathy studies per sheet. And then when we get all done, I've got them numbered already. You'll notice there's sheet 1, etc. I've got them all numbered already in preparation for just doing some very simple, straightforward empathy strikes. We'll get the introduction started today, what to look for. Then next week we'll start to look at the translations of how to overlays and how to begin to pick through some of the surface work. You ready? Here we go. There's one. Now, notice, let me stop right there just for a moment. Notice how each one has a particular process in terms of, this is what I did not explain during that aircraft piece. And I think it's much more really important here to do it at this stage of the game. There are things in this study, I'll just briefly overview, we'll go through all 4 pages here, what we're looking for. The things that are very unique to me in working with empathy. There are subtle variations in theme and line. For example, notice hard against soft, weight against narrow, and then thick and thin. All the way through each one of these sketches. These compound surfaces, although they look busy in some respects, can be utilized in terms of maybe it's articulation next, maybe it's a valve of some sort that moves around. So we'll start to look at this stuff from that point of view and look at some really interesting things now. The weights. And look at this. As that thing twists, does it go inside or does it go outside? Does that pick up the little shoulder again? What does this do? Does that end out, come out? Does that a form that maybe could become a very soft surface? These are the things that are flexibilities are really going to be marvelous to deal with. And I think once we get down to the nitty gritty next week of translating them, we'll get some overlays on these things and start to take a real good look at, interesting. One last thing before I move. In each page, what happens with empathy, what's great about it as well as this, you're done on the vertical. However, what if you did this? What if you went horizontal? All of a sudden, that take on a whole new meaning. There might be a little bit of weight in here, but you can compress that and expand it. There's some really neat stuff. Let's go down the line here. You can stretch this a little bit if you want to go horizontal, for example. And the other thing is, maybe it's a plan view. Maybe that's a plan view of the thing. That's what's amazing about the whole idea of empathy, that the whole process of being able to see these things, even though we started in this mode vertically, you can go upside down. You can rotate it and go horizontal with it. All of a sudden, it changes the character, what you're looking at. These things become much. Is that a grip bulb? Does that kind of recess in? Is that where the power source is? Those are the things we're looking for to take the shapes and the empathy or the emotion of that drawing or that little study and begin to massage it and move it around to kind of create newness, value, impact, innovation. All these things are part of the process. So, and again, there it is. Let me do this again. Started there. Beauty about empathy, no matter what it is, automotive, product, architecture, even landscape architecture, garden planning and so forth, and park space. It's this shape rotated to that. And when we look at it upside down, what does that start to do? It changes the whole meaning, for example. Look at the absolute the change in format here. If that becomes a grip, does that become a grip? What does that begin to do? What does this start to do? Maybe it's all this space here. That becomes positive, and it comes out in blisters. You can modify these shapes. And I hope I'm not trying to make too much out of this, but I think that's the beauty of the impact of what empathy does. It's not just one view. It's a full 360. And once we train our mind, begin to see that and begin to develop into it, say, oh, this works, that does not. And making very valid, solid suggestions makes a huge, huge difference. So there's page 1. Anybody? Any comments at all, Dakota? Or Antares? You're part of the process now, so please feel free. Open commentary here. Great stuff. Really neat. While you're doing that, I'll just make sure we get these guys autographed here, and we'll keep a running stock. There's phase 1. Oops, I'll get these guys in there. Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think let me stop there for a moment here, Dakota, and we'll see if we can kind of get that organized for you. Let me do this. You got a scrap sheet of paper. When you have that Conte crane in hand, I don't know if you can see that at all. When you have that Conte crane in hand, there's a trick to rotating your wrist and your hands and your fingers to make that thing work here. Let me just do this. I'll turn this over for a moment. To prevent that from becoming line work, lay that Conte crane down like so. Then come back in and say, okay, I'm going to use the full weight or the full length of that stick to do the following. I'm going to come up, into soft, into hard, and into hard. See the variation in theme there? Again, one more time. Lay it down. I never start, for example. I lay it down and I always come up on the edge, that underneath that edge. Oops, let me get that up on the screen here. Underneath that edge, there we are. Underneath that, on an edge. And I start there. But then I rotate it as I go through. I'm using my fingers to roll that as I move along the process here. So again, one more time. Sharp, thick, into positive, See the difference in variation, how you get, let me stop there for a moment. See the variation, how you get these lines? For example, sharp against soft. Is it that line or this line? That little return and curl. Is it that shade and through here it works? Is it that line, that to that? It all opens up very possible. That's cool. We could turn that into a very neat looking transportation design plan view. Just for what it's worth. Helping? Let me stop right there. Okay, great. So back to Dakota. I try to make lines like yours with the Conte stick, but mine come out more or less as lines. All right, now hopefully that helped. Get that down on the edge, and then rotate it as you go through with your fingers. Just rotate as you go up, solid, back to crisp, back to solid again. Huge difference. Ah, great. That really helps. That's good news. Fantastic. There's some cool stuff in here. We might use this for this product design too. I don't know. I'm just trying to get across and make up for the failure I had 3, 4, or 5 weeks ago about not explaining what empathy really truly consists of. It's infinite space. It's judicial. It's inspiring. And it forces us, and I'm going to use a different term, it commands us to think in terms of the third dimension without being aware of what the product is. I try to do the best I can. For example, every time I use empathy, if it's transportation, in this case product design, let's back to the original here, in this case product design, what else, architecture, I don't think of product, architecture, car. I think of surfaces. I think of line. I think of weights. That's what these guys do. And the beauty of that, again, Dakota and Antares, is this. When you come back in this thing, now you started there. That's the mode in which you worked in, all vertical. But when you rotate it, now it's horizontal. They take on a whole different personality. And if you do this, potential plan views or even product work again, looking at every rotation at 360 makes an enormous difference. And then last but not least, coming back to this again, look at the change of character. It's incredible. I mean, these and I'm going to be careful how I say this. These things are so valuable, you can't put a price on it because it really solidifies and expands our creativity. Once we learn how to get past the barrier, oh, that doesn't look good. Oh, that's not right. Being good or right is not the whole mission. The mission is exploring, delving into, analyzing it. It's a visual process with an emotional quality, very hard to capture. And also, I've said this all the time when I work with this too, and I hope this helps. Again, let me get this back to square so it doesn't confuse everybody. I've said this every time I use it. The thing that always amazes me about empathy is nobody uses it. No one's aware of it. It's never been publicized. I think that's where the beauty of guys like Sid Mead came into it. And this is his concept. Everything he did, United States Steel, film industry, everything he dealt with, it was all empathic. He'd start a program with that. When I was in class with him, he'd do transportation design studies with just empathy, like 2 or 3 lines. So he'd begin to, as we said, he'd introduce it, then he'd come back in and translate it, and then he'd apply it. I mean, it's just absolutely phenomenal. So let me go ahead. There's the first page. All right, good? Let's see, Antares. So you look at the thick stroke, and maybe take it out of the outer edge, the inner edge, the silhouette, or maybe the whole thing is inward. That's exactly that's well said, Antares. That's what you're doing. You're looking at every weight you've done. Look at the thick stroke, then analyze maybe it's the outer edge or the inner edge as a silhouette. And lastly, maybe the whole thing is an inward and outward form change of surface. Yeah, it can be positive or negative. For example, let's use this one right here. That outboard line could be a little like a trigger switch. That could be a head of some sort that pivots or does something that we can add an element to it, put elements to it. Now, this line outside might be, but you can come back inside to that line, or even that shade line right there. And there are all kinds of variations on thick, medium, light. All that's part of the process. Every one of those, for example, this little turn right here, that little offset, that could come back and connect in through here. That could connect out through here. That could connect, that little gap, that can connect and bring. Those are the things you look at. It's a very, I hate to say it like this, it's a very, pardon the inference here, it's a very visual, intellectual process. Thinking, learning how to think, learning how to see, sight patterns. I mean, I'll never forget the comment that Sid Mead made to me when I left school to go on to GM. He sat me down and said, Jim, I want to tell you something. Your future is going to be brilliant if you remember one thing. The best piece of work you'll ever do, you've yet to see. And he emphasized C. Sight to him was everything. It's a parabolic process in terms of going inside, outside, perimeter, back into the gut. I mean, it's a method of understanding that is not taught today, it's not spoken of today, and it's a shame. I mean, that conference I had, for example, on Wednesday with these educators, they were all stunned at the fact, we not heard of this. Where did this come from? It comes from the depth of creativity. It's all ordained. It was a Sid Mead process, but he learned it from the fact of just analyzing the thought process and what the psychology of visual thinking is. It's amazing. So again, I don't want to belabor the point here, folks. I'm just trying to do a good job here today to make up for what I didn't do 5 weeks ago by going in depth as to what we're looking for here. It's just that stunning to me. And again, and Tara's helping. Dakota, thank you so much. If that method of holding the content creating helps at all, beautiful. And I would love to see you crank out some sketches to get back to that thick and thin look that you were doing some time ago with some of the earlier studies. And by the way, for you, Dakota, you were not far away from where you were to get these things to look correct. It's just more practice time. That's all it comes down to. And Terrace, let me ask you again, did that my explanation help with that in terms of inside, outside, thick stroke, thin stroke, weight changes, patterns in light, so forth? Interesting. All right, very cool. Got it. Let's go to one. There's my first page. Let's go back. Let's try something. Let's go horizontal here. I'm going to get these guys to straighten out. We'll come back and review these when we're done. And again, I want to be very careful today. I'm only going to generate maybe 4 sheets to keep it nice and simple, so we've got some selections to work from. And then maybe we'll put out the guesstimator at the end of the program and have you look at these guys and maybe email me back. Hey, this looks good. That page looks fine. That's not good. Let's try this. Your input is going to be absolutely invaluable. I can't stress that enough. All right, here's page 2. Let's go back in here. Now, we did the first one vertically. What happens if we go vertically or horizontally? That's a shade up here. Oh, look at that. Another variation in theme. Looking at it horizontally, not really saying it's the product yet, but it's looking for the theme. All right, okay, we did it horizontally. What if we did this and go vertically? All of a sudden, different way of holding the thing, different way of utilizing the thing. Maybe maybe that portion detaches. Maybe that's all solid and this becomes part of a trailing site into a power cord to add something to it to make that a little fuller. Maybe this is all interchangeable, and that's solid. I mean, those are the things that are going to make a huge difference, all right? So there it is, vertically, upside down. Now, look at the mood changes. You've got this plateau. You've got this area here that could be completed, and then underneath that undercut could be, again, removable object. It's interchangeable, it's portable, and above all else, it's modular. These are the things that are making home. Helping? No, back in just a minute. You must be doing some errands. What do you think, Dakota? Is this helping? So there it is upside down, and there it is in the other view, right? There's vertically again. Look at the difference in the theme work. It's just incredible. That shape, for example, again, we're working with it. Maybe it's left-handed. Again, this guy, that guy. I mean, that gap in there could be filled in with all types of things. Could be a barrel head added there. Could be something in the old comb molded. Could this be a molded cast piece? Who knows? Just unreal. Helping? Super. There we are. There's page 2. And we got it right there. Excellent. So I'm going to put those down. Let me just sign this guy. We'll go right down the line here. So I know which direction we're in. There she is. So it's phase 2. Now, let's go back to another fresh sheet. Maybe that time. And Terrace will be back to join us here. There you are. So there's one. I'll bring these back in a moment here. And we'll review them. 1 to 2. Pardon me as I get organized. There they are. 1 to 2. Now let's start another one. Page 3. Now I'm going to use a smaller content creating piece. See if we can get a little more detail on this thing. Not so much detail, but maybe some finesse pieces. Let's start with this. There you go. Let's see, I've got 4 of them there. Now that's much more vertical. Now, but notice different possibilities up on top for me, a capsicum or a removable part or interchangeable power source of some sort. A lot of sharpness in here that can be modified. That's yet to come. Again, I want to stress today's whole process is to literally look at the method, introduce it. What's it doing? How do we handle it? What do we eliminate? What do we look for? Are things, for example, if you don't like certain things, maybe you come back with a real solid strike and just come right through the middle of it. Oh, you add this, we come back out of this with some ventilate. I mean, look, the beauty of that is you're actually doing emotional sketches with a practical application. Amazing. Absolutely amazing to me. Super. Any comments at all? So there's the 3rd page. Again, started in the vertical. What if we rotate it? Isn't that interesting? Look at this. Possibility. That one up on top, maybe not so much so. Maybe it's that much of it that begins to utilize, or maybe it's that portion of it right there that begins to utilize. That could be a D-ring, for example. Who knows? That's the great thing. You start to put these pieces together based on the visual acuity and the intellectualism of developing form. Let's move it up on top here. That's a little bit on the sharp side, but there are some things in there. This could be kind of interesting. We actually grip the thing like so. And then the power source is down and through here. Those are things we're going to add. These are the things that I want us to really stress. And last but not least, let's go upside down. Holy cow. I mean, look at, fun stuff. Pardon me here, losing my voice. Again, modifications will be made. There's no question about that. But you can't deny the fact that there's a lot, let me rephrase that. We cannot deny, and we should never deny, that as abstract as this is, if we learn to see inside it, learn around it, walk around it, and begin to analyze it, and begin to pick and choose where the elements that are really vital to work with, the vocabulary goes from this to this. It's infinite. Let me stop there for a moment. Dakota, anything good? Helping? Fantastic. I mean, this has been fun. A lot of fun. And while I'm at it too, waiting for the response, am I doing a better job explaining this whole concept of empathy and what to look for in an introduction process today? Very fascinating. I mean, it is so pervasive and so profound. And profound in the sense that, and again, I hate to be redundant here, but I can't escape completing to repeat this. Over the years, I've been in this business for 50 plus years. Every time I go through a design process, no matter what the subject matter is, I've always began a program with empathy, because it opens up the doors of freshness, and the corridors of creativity just open wide open, because you're learning how to see different languages. There are certain things within it that are not really we're familiar with, and I think that's a key term here. What the greatest result of empathic sketch study and processing is this: it reveals the unfamiliar. It dictates to us the astounding process of newness, how to begin to manipulate it, how to adjust it. Without that, we just do the same old thing. Have you ever done a situation, for example, when you go through a design process, you start doing the same sketch the same way? And I can honestly tell you, and I hope I can make this very clear and without any self-indulgence here, I've never done that. I have always started a fresh sheet. I've never used underlays. I never use them all the time. Very rarely do I use underlays. In a case like this, we'll show you maybe a little trick next week that'll get that clarified for you. But as far as doing underlays and correcting certain things, I've always started with a fresh sheet. Why? Because empathy has given me one empathy will give me about 50 ideas, depending on how you look at it. And that's the key for us here today. Let me turn this upside down. There we are right there. There it is. That's how we started. Absolutely. It's just really, really fun stuff. Really, really a lot of fun. Helping? I'll come back here. Let's get that third one out of the way. And we'll do this in the page number 4. Let's go back in here. Let's use that small piece again. Let's go horizontal. There you go. There we are. Notice again, the balance of thick against thin, inside weight, outside weight. All these things make a huge difference in terms of developing the whole process here. Let me just do this for a moment. Then we go a little conversation here. There we are. All right, so there we go. All right, so there it is, done in horizontal. Now, it's as we did before. Let's move it into the vertical. Now what's it starting to do? Oop, off the screen there just a bit. There we are. Now what's it starting to do? Maybe they're a different character altogether here, and maybe it's a matter of maybe opening this up, thinning it down, compressing it. Interesting, there's nothing there, but if you start to fill in the negatives and begin to take advantage of that shape, maybe it's reducing so much of this, but if you block that out a little bit, look at the difference here. There you go. There it is. Let me address that question there, Terence. That's great. It seems the trick to this process is seeing what's in front of you and seeing possibility at the same time. Yeah, I think it's present and then future. Presently, you've done this. But the future is, what do you do with it? Do you go inside or outside? Or go back to your comment earlier, edge silhouettes or thick and thin stroke lines. Where do you take them? And at the same time, once this opens up that door, what you begin to do with it is all of a sudden begin to apply that to the method you're trying to solve. In this case, we're doing a hand tool of some sort. I haven't really thought about that yet, but these sketches we're going to utilize. Maybe we take some of these forms and begin to manipulate them and massage them and get into the translation about what they mean and how to begin to take that into the final setup about what this hand tool is going to become. Again, things we were told: adaptable, articulating, mixed materials, interchangeable, modular, ergonomic, and line weight studies, or weight studies, meaning the weight of materials. And also, I think it's interesting too, my question to them is going to be power source. I'm going to really stretch the envelope and say, you know what, I'm going to see if we can develop a whole different way of developing a power source instead of a battery system or an ergonomic electronic system, something unique that kind of minimizes the overall scale and gives a whole new look to this thing. Dakota here, it's great for expanding, huge for expanding the explanation in our imagination. It's just, and then, okay, there, now upside down. Whoa, wait a minute. All of a sudden, look at this. Look at that form right there. With some application, for example. Maybe this is all hollow. Maybe that's added to it. I mean, those are the things we're going to come to next week. Again, look at this guy. As simple as that is, if you're to take this shape and extend it and begin to blend it off, or else reverse it and go the other way, I mean, it's just, I get excited. Pardon me for getting excited, because it really is a unique process. I mean, I'm grateful for the fact that I was taught this at a very young age in my career. Use it all the time, and I've never had a problem having to repeat something twice. And I'll say this again, because I think both of you know me very well. This is not being self-serving. I've never had a project rejected. Every question I get is, where in the world did that come from? And I don't tell them. I'm going to keep it a secret. So it's ours. But it's just amazing how it all begins to function here today. So there we are. Now back to upside down again. There it is. Look at that. Look how the shapes change. The melody changes. The thicks and thins change. The intact changes. And our sight pattern, last but not least, let me just close with this. Our sight pattern changes enormously. All of a sudden, that field of vision from this goes into infinity, because you can start to see, well, what about? And I think that's one thing I want to really stress here in wrapping this thing up here today. I'm not done yet, but we'll kind of wrap it up very quickly here. That's the one thing that I really want to stress with empathy, that our sight pattern might be restricted in some cases because of favoritism and so forth, things we've done before in the past. But the sight pattern opens up the opportunity to allow the mind to expand what we see, or also contract what we see. So it's not a matter of being automatic, that lay down the four wheels, put in the center line. I mean, all that changes because now you're looking at an automation process that dictates us. It puts us in a quarter. All right, you've done this. Now solve it. And to me, that's where the real magic is. It's one thing to do an empathy strike, but once you refine it and begin to translate it, all right, how do you solve it? What do you do with this thing? I mean, it's just an absolute blessing, a huge blessing. And I've never had, as I said, I'll say this again too, I've never had a situation where I've done the same thing twice. I've never had a project rejected, no matter what the discipline has been. Everything from logo development, branding identity, architecture, all of the disciplines. I've used this everywhere I've ever been. in terms of product work or design work over the years in my consulting business. Never had a problem with it. In fact, we get rave reviews coming back to these. I send these sketches out too, by the way. These sketches will be sent out to be evaluated. Oh, that's an interesting shape. And then they look at it and say, I never thought of that. That could be an application. So what you're doing there, in addition to having the expansion of your imagination, begin to really telegraph some great things, you're educating your audience about why you're valuable. Absolutely valuable. And you are valuable, Dakota, and you are as well, Antares. You're telling that client, this is what I do. This is how I think. You're valuable. They're going to see the difference in your work. You're going to set the precedent. It's worked for me over the years. I'm not special. Never have been. Never will be. But what's been special is the education process about seeing new things and begin to apply it and understand it a little bit. Not a lot. It's still a mystery to me. It's amazing. Oh, question here. The more you study and become familiar with different subjects, for example, does it enhance your ability to work with empathy? Yeah. That's a great question, great commentary to return here. The more you study and become familiar with different subjects, for example, automobiles, architecture, etc., does it enhance your ability to work with empathy, or can it work against you? No, it enhances it. Absolutely enhances it. Here's why. You might go through an empathy strike for a piece of architecture. Now, it might seem abstract or outside the envelope of understanding, but then again, Antares, it's our job, your job, to come back in, and I say that politely, your aspect now is to come back into that empathy strike and look at it from the point of view of practicality and modify it and change it there, here and there, not drastically overall contour or the actual concept, but refine it with materials, textures, etc. Yeah, it enhances it. It opens it up completely. You might, for example, see an area that might be all glass, but it could be a transparent fabric. Who knows? It could be a lighting system instead of a window system. Again, the whole structure could be done in terms of modularity, or else what would be a good fabric technology. Impregnation materials. It could be terrific. That's what it does. It really enhances your ability to work with empathy. I've never seen it work against me. And I think you'll see the more you work with it, both you and Dakota, the more you work with it, the more you'll begin to realize, boy, this thing really opened up a lot of doors. And my client loved it. My suggestion was, well, you're looking at glass, but I was looking at more of a transparent, translucent lighting system that changes as it goes from dusk or dawn to dusk. It changes. And look at Abu Dhabi. That's how they got there. All the architecture there changes according to light source. That came about as a result of just looking at pure empathic design studies and then transferring that, translating it, and then putting an application into architecture and working with clients, for example, and manufacturers to get it to work. It's incredible. So, that helped answer your question, Antares? Hopefully. Very cool. Then let's pause here for a moment and we'll go back and let's get rid of this guy. And we'll just kind of recap it all here, using one or two sketches. And there's number 4. Let's see, Antares, if you got a moment, just please respond here to the question I just asked, and we'll kind of go from there. Or answer, pardon me. How you doing, Dakota? Hanging in there? And once again, too, just for Dakota, did that little illustration of how to work with this guy, how to get up on an edge and begin to move thick and thin to eliminate all the line work that you're concerned about earlier on in your commentary? If not, I'll go through an example again to help you. Great feedback here today, guys. I mean, I really appreciate you taking the time to be part of the process. This is a whole new envelope of understanding from both me and you as well, hopefully. Dakota, yeah, still here. Excellent. Good. Did that little explanation of the contact crane and how to work with it, did it help you? If not, let me know and I'll do another little quick study here to help you through it all. The trick is to start on an edge and begin to rotate it and twist it in your fingers so you get that thick and thin process to work with. And don't worry about having shapes that look a little bit over busy. We can massage those as you go and refine them as you begin to develop them. And then Terrace, one more time. Did that answer about enhancing your abilities help to clarify the question you just answered? No, very good. Excellent. Good. All right. Let's go down the line here, and if you have any commentary in closing here, we just want to wrap it up and make sure we get some things started. And I hope, let me make this announcement now, my hope is that next Wednesday, we'll tune in and we'll go into, again, phase 2 will be translating it. I'll show you some little tricks on how to use a system to go over some certain things and then begin to refine them and begin to apply them to more closely related to the project we're dealing with here. And again, do not forget, hopefully throughout the course of the week, when we go through these, I would appreciate those of you who are watching, pick a page, for example, and page 1, let's do this. I'd really like your feedback. Page 1, one right or left or center, that's the one that looked pretty intriguing to me. That was interesting. Your feedback's going to be helpful. I can begin to judge that, begin to look at those things, and really do some really good time next week of describing what your commentaries were. And when we do that, please evaluate them. Send me your notes at jim@drcontrast.com. I'll review them, and we'll start to review them next week. So this is page 1. Again, going to the vertical, just using the empathy here. Again, in a nutshell, thick and thin lines, surface. It's all surface work. For example, let me go back here and just kind of detail here for a moment here. The surface of, is it that inside shape? Is it that upper and then into the lower? Is it that form to that form? Is it on outside of that tone surface there? Is it this? Is it that little turtle there? It's so pervasive, terrific. Number 1, right? Oh, number 1 on the right. Okay. Oh, this guy? That's it? Interesting. So that looks pretty interesting. So let's go this way. That has a possibility. All right, this is page 1. And Terrace, feel free to dive in here. Page 2, you went horizontal. Certain things that we're looking at here in terms of the same thing, thick and thin, surface work. It's all surface related as we go. Now, very cool. There's 2. Here's page 3. Same process again. How to work with these guys? Is it which ones make sense? And we'll go back. Oh, let me make sure I get this all straight here. Document these beauties. Make sure we're in good shape. Family of forms on page 3. Pick the one to like and let me know what you're after. And so we'll kind of highlight that guy next week and begin to get into some refinement studies here. And again, to take advantage of the law day. Today, introduction. Next week, the absolute translation. How do you translate them? What are we looking for? And the last page is here. Again, going horizontal, same set of circumstances, looking at certain forms and how to begin to, and remember, when you look at these guys, the thing that's going to be really fun to work with here is, maybe we can do this next week, is to take these guys, we started there, we rotate to that, then we rotate to upside down, all of a sudden things really change. Number 1, center, 2, center, 3, right. Number 1, 2, center. All right, let's go back to this one. Number 2. 2. 2, meaning this guy right here. Oops, let me get this up the square here. Center, is that the one, Dakota? Make sure we got the right feedback here. Number 1, center, I think we got. Number 1, center. Oh, I'm sorry. It's this one. Number 1, center. Number 2, center. Okay. There's 2. Imagine this one, right? Yeah, cool. Oh, and Terrace, I'm sorry. Yeah, so this one, from Dakota on page 2, you like this one. I mean, the center one, right? Is that correct? Let me get these up on space here. This is page 2. Is that the center one, Dakota? Very cool. So, okay, let's do this. And that's Dakota. And we go back to this one. And Terrace, let's go back to you again here. So, on page 1, it was center. That's and page 1. Center. That's A. Page 2, center. Page 3, right. Okay, super. How about you? Anything there, for example, Dakota at page 3 that you liked? Page 3. Light the left. That's the one right there. That's it. Very cool. Interesting. That's great. Great feedback. Okay, now we're going to 4. Right over here. This is Anteros. Okay. Anteros. No, page 4. Anything? Even though it's done horizontally. Remember now, we're going to start moving it around and go vertically, horizontally, upside down, etc. I'll just hold on for your input here, and we'll get it recorded. Then start doing some refinement work next week. Translation. Page 4, the topmost. This guy right here. It's Dakota. Up on top. Very cool. How about you, Anteros? You still with us? Any preference on page 4? You don't have to pick it. If there's nothing that intrigues you, that's fine. It's open season. Page 4 bottom. All right, this guy. Boy, you've done some great work here, guys. I mean, this is really, really helpful. Let's put those back in order here. And there's 2. I'll make note of these. I'll list them out here, and we'll separate them, and we'll make sure we come back with these same sketches. Here's the plan. Next week, we're going to come back with these same empathy studies and pick your choices and go right down the line with a series of maybe overlays and some structural stuff on how to begin to translate these beauties. So let me just say this in closing, how much I appreciate and sincerely dedicate myself to helping you. You have been enormously inspiring for me. Cannot thank you enough for what you've done and spending the time here today with me to go through this process. It's going to be a very intriguing development from start to finish. Today we introduced it. Next week we're going to translate it, and then down the line we'll start to put some application together about this whole, and we'll have more information to work from too as we go down the line here from week to week. And if there's a gap in the process when we send things out for feedback, we'll fill in with some things that are of some interest to you maybe. But again, I cannot thank you enough. We've got the information. You've got the selections in place. We can start to look at the overlays, and not overlays, but the translation process, how to work with it. Another technique I'll show you next Wednesday. And above all else, I just, again, sincere thanks for dedicating the time. I have great respect for you, both of you, and anybody else who's viewing here today. Thank you for taking the time. This is going to be a very intriguing, powerful project. I'm looking forward to seeing what the results are going to be when it's all said and done. And I'm sure the client will be absolutely ecstatic because this is all new to them, and it's going to be a very intriguing feedback. So, again, folks, please visit my website, jim@drcontrast.com. drcontrast.com is my website. And then if any emails at all, any notes at all, jim@drcontrast.com. Happy to help you any way I can. And again, thank you so much for the time today. We'll look forward to seeing you next week. Hope you have a great weekend. Take care. And let's see, really look forward to going on with the depth. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, guys. It really will be fun to see. So I always never fail to remember to finish my program with this one. Always remember to never forget to dare to be great, because you are. Thanks very much, folks. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next Wednesday, same time, same place, and we'll start to put some real heat to this thing. Thank you. All the best. Bye-bye now. You're welcome, Dakota. Hope it helped. Great stuff. Bye-bye now.